Alrighty, welcome back to the next episode of the Fellers podcast. It's been a long break. I think it's been 2 weeks. I'll try to avoid breaks like this in the future. I coach high school basketball, and we had a trip to DC this last week, so I wasn't really even able to play too much Dota the last week or so. But we made it back. We are here, and Frostivus has just dropped yesterday. So we could have recorded a few days ago, but at that point it was pretty apparent that a large patch in Frostivus was looming, and I don't like to do record just before a patch. So we waited for that to come out. It just dropped yesterday. It is Friday, December 15th, and we are here. I'm back with John, and I doxed you. Oh well.
It's fine. You can bleep it out in
I'll
post.
bleep it out. I'll bleep it out in post. That's fine. All right, I'm back with John, and we're here to recap our Fanlancer games that we played. John, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I got a lot of PL games in. Pretty happy. I got 18 PL games in.
Holy Christ. All right, well, I'll let you go first. How did your 18 games go? I hope good. That's a lot of games.
So yeah, I played 18 games. I had 11 wins and 7 losses.
Okay,
So
that's pretty good.
The hero, actually, I think I have a 60% win rate with the hero going into this little experiment. So it did about what I was hoping it would do. They went pretty well for the most part. Like you can kind of see. I was happy. I felt like when games were even, I was able to win, is what it really felt like. I never really had a lot of trouble in lane. There was definitely a few things I learned going in that I changed from what I thought I was gonna do. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So here's the question: Is your MMR higher after all this?
I also decided to lose with other heroes. And then, oh man, I was up to I was almost 1800. And then I lost 6 games in a row. So
that'd be a really good MMR in Han.
Yeah, right. It's pretty bad here, but that's fine. So I'm down to 1708. So I did gain an MMR, but not as much. But it's because I had a 6-game losing streak. That was just a rough one. But yeah,
nice. Well, I went 4-3, but the hero felt really good. Of those 3 losses, the very first game I played, our mid lone druid disconnected at 6 minutes, and we had to play 4v5. And even with that, I was really powerful, and the game was winnable. It was an even game, golden XP wise, until 30 minutes, and then my offlane LC was just hyper aggressive and kind of threw the game. But even though it was a 4v5 without our mid laner, which is usually that's guaranteed loss territory, the game felt 5% chance to win 4v5 because I felt really strong. And then my last game I lost, I had an Oracle mid, which in 2023 is not very good. But I had an open mind about it, but turns out it was just a support player, and that was the only hero you knew how to play. So that game was a loss from the start. So really, all three of my losses, I would say, were just total stomp type games, and I don't think any other hero would have made a difference. So I don't think those are really on the hero. I didn't have any losses where it was wow, I wish I was a different hero because this game was really hard as PL. All 3 of them were kind of stomps, and the wins I had were super gritty. My first win I had was a 69-minute game, which was I'm trying to pull it up here. It was so hard, but the hero felt really, really good. Every stage of the game, really. Pretty much once I got Ags in almost every game, I felt like I could fight. But also, if you don't fight, you still farm really fast. This item feels really powerful. It did get a little bit of a nerf. The hero got a little bit of a nerf in Frostivus, but nothing major that I think changes the concept of the hero. One thing that I noticed about this hero was that, and this is not news to anybody that's played the hero or played Dota for a long time, but you definitely reach this point in the game where you're just invincible, and you feel like even if they have PL counters, you're still crazy strong. This game that I was the 69-minute game, we were 42k gold behind, and we were just like stuck in our base. And this was at 45 minutes. We were 42k gold behind, and I could just walk up and clear a creep wave with Q, and send Manta illusions to side camps, and just get to this point where I'm strong enough to just win fights by myself. It did help that game I had a Grimstroke, and we talked about this combo and why it's so good because did you get to play with any Grimstrokes?
Yeah, I had a couple, and then I saw what happened. I'm like, oh, that's nice because I forgot about
You
the
just
mechanic.
delete 2 heroes.
And then also it was nice just like getting the stun cast on me and then running at people and stunning. Like that felt really good.
Yeah. I would ping suggest it every single game. And I think probably half my games I had a Grimstroke on my team. And when you have Pale Grimstroke, it feels pretty unlosable unless you grief the laning stage. So, yeah, Hero felt incredibly strong. Like one of the best carries in the game strong in my bracket. And I was a little bit surprised by that just because his win rate isn't great. It was like 48% in Immortal. But as long as you don't get ran over in all 3 lanes, like you can even lose your lane, or I could, and then still recover. Anytime you get ran over all 3 lanes, it's really hard to get back on the map and play, but that's how it is with any hero. So, what did you feel? I guess, how did you feel? Like, did you get Ags every game, or was there ever a game where you didn't?
I went Ags every game.
Yeah, I think you have to.
It feels way too good. It really, really helps with like farming. And it's nice to like you farm and then you go fight, or you're like, I can't farm the lane, I'm going to use my Ags on the lane and then I'll farm the jungle. Like that felt really nice. I won all of my games that I felt like I should win, that kind of thing. There were a few games where I'm like, all right, I got this AM ratting us, and then we finally fight like against him and we'll lose. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel kind of like what you said, where like, I don't know, to me, I felt like at least one of my lanes had to not get stomped. And when I had games where like both of the other lanes got stomped, like it didn't matter like how hard I tried, we weren't coming back, it felt.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a solo win. You can't win the game by yourself, but it makes it like, especially with like my like pretty good win rate on it, it definitely feels like you can win games like for sure. As long as you get a couple combos.
I will counterpoint and say that any game that was like not literally over at 12 minutes, I felt like I could win by myself. Like if I got to Aghanim before like 16 minutes, it felt like nothing else in the game mattered. And that was like every game that I got there, we won. And there was a couple of games that I felt like I was like, if I was any other hero, this would feel hard, but it's just not. So yeah, I would disagree, at least in my experience. It was like, this was a hero I could win by myself as long as like it wasn't a total stop at like 12 minutes where you have a 0-9 off lane, and like that was one of my games. My off lane combined was like 0-9 at 7 minutes. Those kind of games are hard to win, but that's just Dota. But this felt like such an insanely good 1v9 hero.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
go ahead.
It was just rough. I think one of the things though I really learned, or at least like I think about a lot, is like the level 2 spell I take. I'm gonna take like maybe 50% of the time I'll take Doppelganger, just because like that's when I feel like people are trying to run at me, is that like that level 2 a lot. So like I started taking that against offlaners that had spells I could dodge easily, and I think that made like honestly like a huge difference in my laning phase.
Yeah, I found myself like it does feel really greedy to go Q and E, like to not get your W till level 3. Or there was one game I didn't get till 4, which was Ultra Greed. I think you can only get away with that if they just don't have any kill potential in the other team's lane. If they have any sort of kill potential, you have to get W at least at level 3, if not level 2. Yeah, I think it's probably 50-50 at level 2 when I would get it. Did you have any good doppelganger jukes? Did you hotkey like the strong one and get any jukes where you lived?
I didn't do the hotkey thing, which I should have, but I definitely had like a lot of like jukes like that. I had a lot of like just dodging spells felt so good in my bracket. Like, because so many people just, they don't know how to bait you in a little bit and stuff like that, or don't know how to like not stack their stuns. So if you dodge one, you can dodge like three, especially like Tide Hunters. Like, oh, you can see that coming a mile
Oh
away
yeah.
if you're not next to the Tide Hunter when he blinks in. So that felt really good. I get a lot of invokers in my bracket that think they know how to play invoker. So that's just so easy to dodge. And then I think one of my favorite parts about playing PL, especially right now, is like Slardar being picked up so much. I can get rid of that Slardar ulti so easily. Same thing with like Bounty Hunter. Saw a little bit of light for like a week. Like I can just take off the Bounty Hunter ulti and not have, and like there's just super easy dispels, so you don't have to like buy a Manta or run around with it on you for a long time.
I played against Slardar a handful of times, and this might just be because the hero is insanely strong, but there was the one game I played and I lost. I felt like I came to the end of the game. I was like, maybe Slardar is the counter to PL because yeah, you do have the interaction where you can remove that, but if he ever got the jump on me and found my real one, like then this is late game. We're talking like 40 plus minutes. I felt like he could just kill me so fast. Like there was a couple times I got jumped and I died in a crush plus a bash, and which was weird because I would have felt like PL counter Slardar. He definitely did when you had PL plus Grimstroke against Slardar. It was really good, but he was one of the heroes that I kind of weirdly had trouble with because he goes BKB, which weirdly is a counter to PL because you don't take any mana burn damage, or you don't lose any mana, and you're not taking damage from the Qs that are bouncing around. And he was able to, like, him plus one other stun was able to 100-0 me multiple times. So yeah, it was kind of a two-way street with Slardar, but that might just be because the hero is so overtuned right now. But was there any other heroes that you ran into that were like really, really difficult to deal with?
AM was actually pretty hard for me to deal with because I didn't have a way to like keep him from ratting, especially when like the rest of my team didn't know what they were doing. It just felt like AM could always just run away from me, and it didn't really matter too much.
Nobody picks AM in my brackets, so I never saw it.
I feel like AM's gonna get picked up more now. Where's my?
I ran into there was two heroes in particular. Well, there was a handful of heroes that were kind of challenging, but there was two that I was a little surprised by. Were just like intuitively I wouldn't think that they'd be really good against me, but they were really hard to play against, and that was Ancient Apparition was really good against me because he gets the ult on you, you can't dispel it, so it's really easy for them to find the real one. And even if the ult is coming in, you can't dodge it with Doppel. So if you Doppel and you're off the map and it hits, it still applies it to you. So that game I played against AA, I felt like they knew who the real one was every single time. And they also had a Pango in that game, which that's not really surprising that it's really good against me, but it was really good against me. So that combo of AA and Pango, that was the one game I lost that was like maybe could have been winnable. It was kind of a stomp. Like my teammates were 3-16, 3-12, 5-13. So like everybody kind of fed, but that game felt like I could have won if I wasn't getting blown up by those two heroes every game or every fight. So that was kind of tough. Enigma was weirdly annoying. I played it against Enigma one game. Just these heroes that can isolate you and figure out the real one and lock you down and kill you. So like obviously if you ever got black hold, it was pretty easy to find the real one and then chain stun you. That game against Enigma, they had a Gyro who obviously Gyro was good against PL. He got ahead of me because that was the game I offplayed. It was like 0-9 at 6 minutes or something. So I was a step behind, like an item behind this Gyro the whole game, and that felt really awful to play against.
I had a Ricky game, and Ricky was kind of a pain because he puts out his cloud and then you can't use any spells. So you just spend it was nice being able to like Phantom Rush out of the cloud. But I mean, at a certain point, he's putting down like clouds everywhere. And then if you leave that area, you kind of get screwed somewhere else.
Did you get to a late game against that or no? I feel like late game you'd be fine because he can't.
I did, but like the problem was is that the other team was already so far ahead because the Ricky also just destroyed my teammates.
Did he go like Battle Fury Maelstrom or did he go like raw damage and just melt everybody else?
Oh, I'll put it this way: Ricky is 21-9,
Oof.
and I was 15-4-19. He was 21-9-11, and then my supports were my offlane Ursa was 5-7-16, support Bounty Hunter 3-12, and then support Shadow Shaman 8-11. Like, I don't know. It was just I remember just having a bounty hunter that game not doing anything, and like my sniper was 24-8, so like we should have won this game, but I remember him not getting any kills like at the beginning. Like he just was AFK for like half the game and didn't know how to not get jumped by the other team. So it was rough. I liked PL against like sniper. That felt pretty good because you can just like run at him.
One matchup that felt really good, and I actually played both sides of this matchup, was PL into Terrorblade. Man, do you feel useless as Terrorblade? I played, yeah. So I played into it. I had picked a Terrorblade into PL earlier this week, and I was super ultra farmed, but he was just able to kind of whittle me down, and I couldn't get any sort of effective Sunder to stay alive, and you can't really find him and never hit him. And then so later I faced a Terrorblade and picked PL. I was like, wow, this feels like the easiest game of my life. But yeah, Sniper's another really good matchup for you for sure. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. Like you just want to hunt long fights with it and just get several things off with several spears off with Ags and whittle down the team. But yeah, I just felt like I was able to delete one or two heroes right away in the fight and then just kind of edge the fight and pick my time to commit on cores. I mean, playing fights felt so good. As long as you don't get 100-0'd or picked off and get to your items. I don't know. I came to the end of this and I was like, I really don't have an answer for how to beat PL outside of AA plus Gyro plus I don't know, like a Slardar or like something else. I don't know. But yeah, Hero felt so strong. I will be playing a lot more of it. I mean, I already like the Hero a lot, so I was excited when we were going to play it. But yeah, it went really well. I bet you if the way it felt, if I played 10 more games, I would probably go at least 7-3. Because you win all the games you're supposed to, and then I do think you'll win games that you're not really supposed to win just because of the strength of the hero.
Yeah, it's a great hero. I think one of the things that like I noticed too is if I had a strength hero on my team, I felt so much better. I had a few games where like my offlaner didn't pick a real offlaner, my mid laner didn't pick anything that was like a strength or any kind of initiator. And when I didn't have that, like the game just felt like a struggle. So that's like probably what I look for now when I'm like trying to pick it. It's like, all right, do I have a real offlaner? Do I have like a real initiator in this game? If I do, then this seems like a really great pick.
Yeah, and the other thing I think is to have a mid laner that is not super greedy, like something that's going to be making space and fighting rather than like if you have a sniper mid, it's kind of hard to play, I would imagine, just because the best PL games are the ones where your four teammates don't lose their lanes and like they don't have to stop the map, but if they're just doing things on the map that allows you to farm because like I don't know if you took note of like your Ags timings a lot, but usually I was getting it like between 13 and 16 minutes most games. And so you don't need too much space to get to that item. And then once you get to that item, it's a lot easier to play. But if you have a mid that's just kind of sitting back or a sniper that's like not going to go to side lanes, not going to make anything happen, it allows the other team to just run at you. And you can jungle relatively effectively, but if they're just running at you, you die pretty easily early on in the game. And then it feels really, really hard. So I think that's the most important thing I looked for was, do I have a mid that can make plays on the map like a Quap type of hero, and if I have that and it feels really good, like Quap, Dazzle, Zeus, Primal Beast, like these kind of mids, it's really good with. And if you have like a sniper or like a Necrophos mid that's going to be a little bit more passive, it's a little bit scarier. So I will say with this new patch, with I haven't read a ton of patch notes, but it seems like Leshrac is going to be really good, and in like every game with Bloodstone and Shivas, and I think playing PL into that sounds pretty doggone awful. So that might be something to look out for to try and stay away from. But yeah, we'll see. Did you do anything strange with items, like, or was there other items you felt like you got every game? I know we talked about it before, where it was like these first couple items where you felt like you had to get, but like I didn't even get hard every game, and I didn't always get a Manta. Like the only thing I did every game was I got Ags Diffusal every single game, and then everything else was kind of subjective. I bought some Bloodthorns, which felt really good. I bought, I think I bought an Abyssal Blade one game because they had a Life Stealer that felt really good. Did you do anything strange with items?
I didn't do anything strange. I definitely had a few games where I like skipped Manta. It was just like there's nothing for me to dispel. There's nothing, like I'm not getting locked down. Like I'm fighting. I don't really need this right now. I would get something and be like or like I needed a heart or something else. I experimented with like skipping treads and then like getting bots if I knew I was gonna have to like be active, like and that didn't turn out super great the couple times I did it. Like I won those games, but they were harder, and then when I went back to treads, I'm like, oh, I'm farming so much faster, and that felt really good.
Having treads feels super necessary because you do kind of, well, most games you're going to get pushed out of your lane. You do have to be able to jungle and hit those creeps to be able to get to the Ags timing, and if you don't have treads, it feels really slow.
I had a pretty good win rate both ways of like going Midas before Ags even.
I think I did that once or twice, and it was in games where my other team's lanes or my other lanes were going well, and I had a space creating mid, and I knew I was going to be fine. And the one or two times I did it, it did feel really good. But it has to be. Was that the same kind of situation you got it, or did you do it when you fell behind?
I did it both. Where we're like, I don't know if I was ever like behind, but more like, I know my other two lanes are not going well. This is going late. I've got a sniper mid. Like this is going late. I just know that's what's going to happen. And I've picked it up. Or like a few times where like, I'll look at my gold and be like, I just got a double kill. Oh wow. I have 1,700 gold. Okay. I'll farm a creep wave and then buy Midas really quick. Cause it's like, I just had the gold saved up already. Yeah. So might as well.
One thing I tried to do, most games when I got Ags, if the game was relatively even, like if it was a stomp, I wouldn't do this because it could jeopardize my game. But I try to find a fight right away because especially in the games where I got it like 14 or 15 minutes, you actually feel so strong in fighting. So I would find myself like getting Ags and then trying to TP to their side of the map and take a fight where their carry is. Because then if you're able to get one kill on their carry and like take their safe lane tower if it's not gone by that point, that I felt really, really strong. Because usually if I could go with an Ags and take an advantageous fight and win a fight, I would get Diffuse right away. And then once you have Ags Diffuse, the game felt kind of over. Like if you got there and the game was even or you're only a little bit behind, it felt really good. Did you buy any dispersers at all? The upgraded Diffuse?
I got that a bunch.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to get like MKB more than I wish I did. I feel just because like I was against like a decent amount of like PAs or anti-mages that were going butterfly, things like that.
I would say unless they get BKB, Bloodthorn's a better way to deal with that because the Bloodthorn makes all of your attacks on the target have True Strike, so it makes your illusions have True Strike too. Because I'm pretty sure illusions do not get True Strike from MKB. I'm like quite sure. That's how it used to work. But
that's good to know. Because like honestly, I feel like that's where I kind of struggled was in games where, all right, I have to buy MKB now. And then like I'm like, why am I missing so much? This was weird.
Yeah. Only your main hero would get it. Your illusions don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get Bloodthorn, like if you're against, for example, the game I was against Life Stealer, Bloodthorn was super good because Life Stealer is not buying BKB most of the time. So I got Bloodthorn and an Abyssal Blade, and then I just absolutely shit on Life Stealer. But yeah, like if like AM's probably not buying a lot of BKBs, so Bloodthorn's pretty good for that. It also stops him from linking. Yeah, he has Manta, but Yeah, I would suggest that on PL rather than MKB if you're looking for True Strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, Disperser felt really good. My first, like I said, my first win I had was a 69-minute game, and it was a game because I mentioned before it's nice to be able to not have boots on PL, and if you get Disperser, it's really easy to play without boots. So, yeah. Well, do you have any other final thoughts on the hero?
Uh, I think people should pick it less so that way they stop banning it as much. I kind of got annoyed with that. Like the second half of playing the hero, I started seeing a lot more getting banned against me, and that was annoying. But no, I like it. I think there's like a necessity though. You do need at least the upgraded staff when you play this hero. The weapon, you gotta get the Phantom Concord. It looks cool. So just do it. Spend the money. See what happens. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I ran I ran into a lot of bans too. That's why I only played 7 games because I think I had 5 games where it was banned and I had to play another position 1. So I had some Terrorblades and some Voids and stuff mixed in there. But yeah, we'll see where the hero goes. I like this. So one of the changes is they removed the +8 strength talent, which I don't know. Did you get that one at level 10 or did you get the other one? I forgot the other.
I did it a couple times because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch and see what other people do, and I watched like a couple of really high rated games, and they picked that up. So I tried that out. It still felt good. So like on certain games, I just thought a little bit more critically about it.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, I'm dying. I need this.
Yeah, I pretty much, my train of thought was if they have burst damage, I would just get the strength talent, but otherwise I wanted to get the Spirit Lance damage because it makes it feel really strong.
Yeah, sounds good. I there were a few like talents that I could kind of go either way with. But like for the most part, I kind of went our standard talent tree.
So yeah, as far as the talent, I think that this new one, so they replaced this 8 strength talent with +10 Phantom Rush agility, which I think I will be trying over the Spirit Lance because that feels really good for farming at that level. I know when I was buying Ags, I get the treads and then I buy the Agi piece right away. And when I get the +10 Agi piece, it felt like my farming speed went so much faster. So I think that's going to make the hero a lot better. So I think it probably negates the other nerfs. So, but there was a little bit of nerf to the level 15 talent. So we'll probably be. I had already mentioned I liked the. Oh no, that's the 20 is the Phantom Rush. I did do the Spirit Lance cooldown every time, which was -1.5, and now it's just -1. So you'll get less lances off. But overall, I think the hero is just as good, if not even better, if that level 10 talent's as good as I think it will be. So, okay. Do you have any other final thoughts on the hero before we send it out and go to Frostivus?
I hope it stays good in the next meta.
Cool.
That's it.
Well, thanks for joining me. Glad you won some games and found a hero that worked for you. And I will see you next time.
See ya.
All right, deuces. Okay, hello and welcome back to the second half of episode 4 of the Fellers podcast. This is Caleb. I am here with a new guest, new to the show. One of the people I've been most excited about having on, and that is Chris. And Chris and I have known each other for a long time. We've been playing together since 2010, I believe, or maybe even earlier than that, 2009, so 14 years. Chris is another one of the relatively higher rated fellers. I think he's Divine 1 or somewhere about there. And we're going to be doing position 1 again today, even though we just did it last one. But that's all right. We got a new patch. It's a new game. Everything's different. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Nice. What is your MMR right now? Are you Divine 1, Ancient 5?
Oh gosh, no. I think I'm Ancient 5 now.
Okay. You were Divine 1 though, right?
Yeah, I peaked at Divine 1 recently.
All right. The pubs made you lose some MMR.
True. Going down with the ship.
All right. Well, we're gonna try and bring it back. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna do position 1, and let's go ahead and get right into it. You wanna go ahead with your first hero?
Yeah, sure. So, this is a hero that I think fell off the map for a really long time, and then with this new patch, I think maybe has some potential as the offlane meta has shifted. But Drow Ranger,
I knew it was coming.
You did. So, Drow, I think, starts out the game incredibly weak, and we had this very aggressive offlane meta that was just diving her and killing her under her tower, and, she was struggling to stay in lane, get any farm. And I think some of those offlaners are kind of phasing out right now with the nerfs to Heart and some of the other stuff. So I'm interested to see. She also got some kind of minor buffs. I think Glacier's kind of always been a little bit of an underused shard or an underappreciated shard. There's a lot of like blocking that you can do with it, and getting the extra true vision and range increase. So I'm excited to see if she actually kind of shows back up in the meta this patch.
Gust. So one of the changes she got was Gust now reveals invisible units. That seems super intriguing to me. Like, this feels really good.
Yeah, it used to be a talent, but the other talent was way better. Like multi-shot cooldown, 8 seconds was just the one you always had to go because that's a huge part of your DPS in fights and farming. So it was never a talent you could really pick up, but now it's just built into the ability. So I think that's also really good.
So you just get a level 15 talent for free.
Yep,
pretty much.
That's
pretty big. Yeah, I agree, and I think she has the anti-healing component, right? Doesn't her or you need eggs, right?
Yes, her
to get the anti-healing,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is going to be pretty good because I don't know. I haven't played a lot on this patch at all, really. We played last night was the first time. We're recording on Saturday, December 16th right now, so Frostivus just dropped 2 days ago, I think. So I'm kind of going in blind with this as far as meta, but I believe that there's still going to be quite a few healing heroes in the game. I think Necro is still really powerful. So anti-healing components are good. Cool.
Yeah,
I knew for sure especially after last night when you were talking. I was like, well, I know Drow's going to be one of the heroes.
Well, you guessed right.
All right. What's number 2?
Number 2 is Troll Warlord. So Troll Warlord, I want to say about 2 mini patches ago, I thought was really, really good. And then I can't really put my finger on like what happened, but I think he kind of fell off last patch pretty hard. In terms of, his laning, I think is one of his strongest. He's a really strong laner. He's got a lot of range. He's got a lot of damage. Being able to switch between melee and range to last hit, you just get an extra, what is it, like 6 damage when you switch from range to melee because of your hatchet. So last hitting goes really well. You're able to harass, whirling axes, the ranged version, just super strong for, getting a little bit of extra harass down and switching to kill mode. But anyway, this patch, I thought he was already pretty decent, and then they upgraded his shard, and I think his shard is one of the most interesting shards in the game. It's it's a passive shard, so you're not making like huge plays with it, but it just adds so much DPS to your team fighting. Have you ever read this shard? Do you know what the shard does?
I honestly couldn't tell you. It's something about adding extra attacks, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know the specifics of it.
Sure. So his passive that he gets attack speed every time he attacks the same unit multiple times. It stacks up to 12 times. When you get shard, it goes up to 16. But additionally, it gives him a 20% plus 4% per stack chance of firing an additional ranged auto attack.
Is that even if you're hitting in melee?
To the nearest thing. Yeah, even in melee. So melee or ranged, you're just firing additional attacks to something nearby. So, this works when you're attacking buildings, so you can just glue to a building and build up all your stacks, and, at max stacks, you have like an 84% chance of every auto just firing another full damage auto that applies your on-hit effect. So these can bash, these can root, these apply Battle Fury, so they do some crazy things that just like, you melt creep waves. If people walk up, you can just kind of do damage to the heroes, while you're hitting a tower. So,
do you buy it pretty early, like as a farming mechanism, or is it?
No, it's kind of better the later you get it. Because fervor's like the last thing that you put skills into, right? So you're not really hitting that hard and getting your stacks up that quickly in the early game. You really have to max whirling axes and berserker's rage, but Once you have a couple of damage items, especially once you have Basher, is really when I start to look to get Agnum's Shard. Um,
Can it? I mean, the bash chance would be off of a range attack, though, right? It's only like a 10% of it bashing.
um, I actually don't know. I'd have to test that, but
Okay.
they apply Battle Fury hits, so I have a feeling that they count as whatever attack that your mode you're in.
Oh, if that's the case, that's really really good.
Yeah,
We'll have
it's
to.
pretty absurd, I think. So
Okay, that sounds fun. I will say one of my least played heroes in all of Dota 2. I think I've probably played less than maybe 10 games on this hero,
sure,
like through the decades.
yeah.
But also not surprised this one's in there. All right, moving on. What's your third one?
Okay, I don't think this one's going to be much of a surprise, but I
Wait, hang
think it's
on.
an
Is this
interesting one.
Slardar?
It's Slardar. Okay, now you, me, and Slardar go way back to the days of Heroes of New Earth, where this character Pestilence was modern day Slardar and was actually based off of Slardar from Dota 1, and that character could be played in a bunch of different positions. He's always been sort of a position 3 character, but um, kind of the thing about Slardar is a lot of melee carries in this game get bullied by their offlaners, and it can be sort of hard to farm if you have a really aggressive offlane with a bully like Primal Beast or Brewmaster or some of those heroes that just their power spikes are so early, and if you get so far behind and you can't come back, your game just feels kind of miserable. So when I see offlaners like that, or when I just want to play a game where I'm not getting bullied, I pick Slardar because this hero bullies offlaners, especially melee offlaners. I don't think there's a melee offlaner in the game that can beat Slardar in lane. Just having a guaranteed bash every fourth hit that does, up to 200 bonus damage at its max level, but it's just so strong at all levels. That bash lets you get a second auto attack in for free without having to trade. When it's time to initiate for real, you can combo it with your crush and almost guarantee yourself a second bash a couple auto attacks later. You can sprint heroes down before you even have boots. Once you have boots, then no one's really escaping you. You're so tanky, and most of your starting items like Echo Saber and Treads give you additional HP, so you just have this massive HP pool. Gotta say, laning with Slardar, nothing really feels better than laning with Slardar against a melee offlaner. So if you find yourself getting bullied by a melee offlaner, think about Slardar a little bit.
All right. So for those people that don't know Chris, Chris has been playing Slardar a ton the last probably 4 or 5 months in position 1, and this hero has become obviously really popular right now in pubs in position 3. And for the last couple of patches, I feel like we continuously talked about when is he going to be played as position 1, because there was a while where he wasn't picked very much because he wasn't a super strong offlaner. And he got kind of bullied out of offlane, but you were able to find a good spot for him in position 1. The biggest drawback that I always saw with position 1 Slardar is that if you lose your lane, you can't really fall back and farm jungle creeps like most other position 1s can, and so it'd be you could find yourself falling really far behind. But with this patch, with the jungle creeps being nerfed across the board, I think you're going to see a little bit less of that style of position 1 of guys that fall back to farm jungle and something more active. So Slardar Pos 1 is definitely better this patch, I think, than it has been before. So yeah. Also not super surprised. I'm not really surprised by any of your picks, but that's okay. We got them all on the board. I am doing some stranger picks, we'll say. Two of the heroes you'll be familiar with me playing them as Pos 1, but they're a little non-traditional. But the first one is actually an old Chris classic. It got gutted a long time ago, but got some nice buffs this patch, and that's Tony the Tiger, Tiny.
Oh my gosh. I miss this hero. When he was good, back when, his shard gave him the permanent tree and he was doing a ton of damage and cleaving, and you're getting Echo Saber and just two-shotting supports. I miss those days.
Yeah. So Tony, he got buffs to tree grab this last patch, so he's got bonus base damage increase from 20, and then now it scales from 20 up to 35, so it's an extra 15 damage. Cooldown got lowered on it by 6 seconds at level 1, which is pretty big for laning. And the Aghanim Shard now also increases the damage of thrown trees by 100, which is a lot. So your like one hit combo is pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. So what when they gutted him, what did they do? Did they remove they reworked his shard, right?
Yeah, and I forget what exactly changed about it. It was so long ago, but I was.
Oh, it's still permanent tree grab.
It is still permanent tree grab.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember what exactly changed.
I think they nerfed the splash damage of it or something. There was something where they made it so it was kind of ineffective, but got some buffs. We're gonna try it again. This is another hero where, like I just said, I think we're gonna see a resurgence of more active position ones that don't necessarily need to fall back in jungle, which you can definitely do. You can fall back in jungle, but it's not as high a priority this patch. So I thought it's a nod. It's an old Chris classic. So there it is, Tony.
Okay.
The second one is, I'm pretty sure you're probably going to veto this one.
I'm going to throw up.
But Riki Maru.
Oh my god. Make it stop.
All right, so listen.
Explain yourself.
Riki, I mean, I was playing it a lot last patch with really good success, so I don't think that the hero is necessarily awful. But you're going to see in this patch, it feels like there's less of these tanky guys, these heart building heroes. You're seeing more heroes like Leshraks, Necros, these mage type heroes that have low HP pools and rely on casting abilities, which Riki is really strong against. He really struggled against the heart meta because he got bullied by those heroes in lane, but also there was points in the game where he just couldn't kill a lot of people. But I think with more squishy heroes on the map, more like Crystal Maidens coming back into the game, I think Riki's going to be a little bit better. Also, he definitely doesn't want to jungle. So that was the hardest thing before, is if the other team had a position one that could jungle effectively, you were put in this position where you had to make plays happen. Otherwise, you felt really far behind. But now with the jungle nerfs, that literally doesn't affect this hero at all. So as far as I'm concerned, he just got 20% better because he's not a hero that really ever hits jungle creeps. So yeah, Riki. Long time, one of my favorite position ones to play. When you're ahead on this hero, it feels so much fun. You feel so powerful.
Right.
If you get an early diffuse, especially if you have a carry matchup where it's a hero that you can kill in a cloud with a diffuse slow, like Anti-Mage or Faceless Void, sometimes if you're ahead, you can kill him. You just feel invincible. You can run the whole map. So hero that I really enjoy playing.
Okay.
And then the last one is another Caleb position 1 classic that I don't think Chris plays at all. Razor.
Oh god.
Which, I don't know. I just think this hero is good. I think it's good as position 1, and I think it's been underrated forever. It's people played it a lot 3 last patch. They're playing it again 3 this patch. It farms surprisingly well. If you use the alt to farm, like you can farm ancient stacks. I don't know. I don't really have anything beyond the fact that I just like this hero a lot. And I was looking at the cool thing about patches is like meta, especially a big patch like this, meta just kind of get thrown out the window for a couple weeks, and you're allowed to go back to some of these experimental type heroes that aren't super popular. So that's good enough reason for me to throw Razor into the mix because I really enjoy playing it.
Well, fun fact, back in 2005 when I was playing Dota 1, Razor was my one-pick hero. I was a one-trick Razor player, and I went mid every game. And I would buy Lincoln Sphere as my first item before boots. So that was me back in when I started playing Dota. I had no idea how this game worked.
That's the Chris I used to know. Lincoln's Rush every single game, doesn't matter what the hero is. Okay, so now we have our 6 heroes. So I had Tiny, Razor, Riki. Yours were Drow, Troll, and Slardar. Okay. You get the opportunity to veto one of my 3, or you can leave them all on the board if you want to. Do you have one you would like to veto?
I'm going to leave them all on the board. Your arguments kind of convinced me. They're all heroes I've played in the past. Some of them have just fallen out of favor in my mind, but I'm willing to give them a try if the RNG gods decree it.
All right. I am gonna veto Slardar, and the only reason I'm vetoing it is because it is a pretty popular pick right now, and in my bracket, its ban rate is Divine plus the ban rate's like 35%.
Yeah.
So when I was playing PL for the last one, I think I played 5 or 6 games where I had PL ban and I had to play something else. So it kind of makes it hard to get a volume of games. I am really scared of Troll because, like I said, I haven't played the hero very much. So I hope that we don't get Troll, but I'm going to veto Sire. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, I wrote them down in order. So Tiny's going to be 1, Razor 2, Ricky 3, Drow 4, and Troll 5. And I'm going to RNG roll 1 through 5.
Don't lie.
And I will not lie. Let's see, RNG. I forgot to open this, so this is great content. All right, 1 through 5. I'm going to hit it 2 times. Okay, I got 4, what was our number 4 hero? I had it right here. It was...
I think that's Drow.
It is Drow. All right. Whatever. We'll play your stupid hero. Okay, you go ahead. Tell me more about Drow. What kind of builds you're looking for? What kind of matchups? Those kind of things.
Sure. So, Drow's skill build is kind of weird, honestly. You can go full Frost Arrow, but you lose a lot of DPS and you lose kind of a lot of ability to burst people in lane. You have to really take these really drawn out, engagements in lane if you want to kill someone with Frost Arrows. But then going multi-shot, people are just going to get away from you, but you do kind of benefit from the ability to farm a little bit sooner with the multi-shot. So skill build kind of ranges, and I kind of change it up most games, to be honest. It's really never the same. Just kind of I have to feel out my lane matchup and see what's best. In terms of items, this character, I play this character completely glass cannon. I hardly get any defensive items. Probably the most defensive item that I buy in the first 30 minutes is Manta. But I usually go something like boots, treads, sorry. You're just going all attack speed and agility. So treads, Manta. If the game's looking really good, then, maybe an early butterfly or something to just advance the lead. Drow's a great Daedalus carrier. Silver Edge working differently. I'm going to be interested to see how that kind of plays out, because Silver Edge was a very good Drow pickup, especially against the right matchups and the right teams, but I actually don't even know if Silver Edge got nerfed or buffed. I know the break duration's longer and the hit out of invis does 300 physical damage instead, up from 175, but
Yeah, it seems like a nerf.
it doesn't crit anymore.
Yeah, I mean, because
no
people were
crit
buying
anymore.
it just as a DPS item before, and now it's like you need it
Right.
for. They want it to be a more niche item, so you're getting it for the break. Whereas
Yeah.
before you got it for really primarily for the DPS, and then the break was just a positive. So,
Yep. Hurricane Pike, another must on Drow Ranger, getting that extra range. Work the shard in somewhere in there so that in team fights you can kind of sit in the back, get some high ground vision, make people run all the way around the back of your glacier to hit you. You can force staff yourself off of it, and then they have to run all the way back around. So it just lets you be a little bit slipperier.
New Butterfly is going to be really, really good on Drow.
I think so.
Because it's designed for these high agi gain type heroes, and Drow's obviously that's her whole thing, is being super high agility. So yeah, I think Butterfly is going to be a must in most games, even if the other team is building MKBs or if it's not great against them. Talent wise, well, here let's do an overview really quick of the hero. So right now it's sitting at 49% win rate in Divine, 50 in Ancient, 9% pick rate. So not super low, but just kind of middle of the pack in terms of pick rate. She has gone up a little bit from the patch, but nothing crazy, up from like 1 or 2%. I did look up on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, and she's 42% in high MMR pubs, in terms of win rate. So, but I think a lot of that is because she's one of these heroes that against uncoordinated teams and pubs, She can do so much damage, especially if you're building glass cannon, like you said, against better players and or more coordinated teams. They are able to jump and focus her, kind of like how Sniper is in really low MMR brackets where this hero's invincible. I think Drow's just a better version of that. So I'm not too concerned about the fact that it's 42% win rate in really high MMR games. I think another part of that too is because she does, I think she does kind of struggle to fall back and farm jungle early. Like if she has to go hit creeps at level 5, it doesn't feel very good, right?
No, it feels horrible.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest reason. So that should shift a little bit with what I'm expecting the trends to be in this patch. I think a lot of this episode is going to be just like figuring out how to build carry heroes in this patch because there's so many changes to items.
Yeah.
I'm almost like at a loss when I'm thinking about builds and build orders and stuff because almost everything changed or like so many of these major carry items like Butterfly, Silver Edge, Disperser, Echo Saber, like they all got changed in some way. Even like Lincoln Sphere, Mansa. So it's going to be weird to navigate. I think I'll probably try some weird builds just to try some of these new items. Like, how do you feel about the axe? Do you ever get it?
I gotta be honest, I really don't. I bought it a couple times.
Like,
in the
I
league.
think
Yeah.
I was under the impression it was like a get every game type of thing, but I'm looking at on Dota Pro Tracker, and it's like maybe 40% of the games that people are getting it. So it's definitely not an every game type of thing.
Right.
But I know some people like it a lot and kind of swear by it as because it's kind of like in the same vein that PL was, right? Where it's almost like a farming item, or no?
It definitely does extremely accelerate your farming, but part of me is thinking, is that going to be a big super part of this meta? Super big part of this meta. But also just there's so many other items that just feel so impactful and so important to get. Like when you get Butterfly, you feel invincible for the first couple minutes after you hit that Butterfly timing if you're having a good game. And I just don't know if it would feel the same with the Drow Ags.
Yeah. I'm looking at Yathro likes to build it, so I mean obviously it's probably the best build.
Sure.
The builds I've seen are like Wraithband, Dragonlance, Ags, and then you go back for like Manta and BKB and stuff. But there's a lot of other ones without it, so I'll probably try it and see how it feels, maybe for a game or two. But I think that's gonna be the most fun part for me is just really figuring out the items in the new patch rather than like the hero specific, which I think will make for a interesting different episode. But is there any matchups that are like feel really terrible, like carry matchups that like I think Void's pretty bad, right? Because he can just get on you and murder you.
Yeah, characters that can just get on you instantly and you can't man fight them, which Drow can't do a lot of man fighting to begin with. So, part of me is a little bit worried about Timbersaw getting a little bit, more powerful this patch. It's not a hero you see a lot, but Marcy could be a little bit scary. Back in the day when this hero wasn't in the gutter, Sand King was a very scary matchup for Drow a lot of the time.
Nothing to fear there. Hero's dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, but heroes that kind of do that kind of thing. Primal Beast was obviously very scary and still is very scary. But, even the tanky heroes, as long as they don't have a way to get on you instantly, then they're not all that terrifying. You can kite them out pretty easily. As long as they're not on top of you instantly. Pudge can be a little bit scary. Kunkka is kind of a nightmare. Getting X'd kind of means you're dead no matter what a lot of the time.
Do you feel like the hero, because it used to be the case, but I know that the hero is really different now, but do you feel like it kind of plays like Luna in that you want to hit an earlier timing to win the game? Like you don't want to go into ultra late game or no?
That's a good question because Drow's ultra late game is not bad. She definitely outputs an insane amount of damage in the late game, but at the same time, the ultra late game means that you're usually playing against 5 blink daggers and, all sorts of crazy stuff that's going to be able to get on you really easily. So I think she really peaks in like the end of the mid game. She really is where she peaks.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get too.
Yeah, her levels of her ultimate just give her such huge power spikes every time you level it. Um, yeah, I think she peaks through a combination of her ultimate and some of those mid game timings like butterfly.
I think another thing that helps Drow being good this patch is that it seems like they're trying to negate the high ground advantage with things like the Roshan banner, and change the Solar Crest change. I think helps heroes like Drow because you always get a Solar Crest and just put it on Drow anyway. So that feels like it's a good buff to help her out, to give that barrier from Solar Crest. Um, cool. I'm excited about this one. I used to play a lot of Drow like 9 years ago. Haven't played a ton of it lately, but it is a hero I used to play quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it and finding some new item builds and seeing how it works in this patch. You got any final thoughts on the hero before we get going?
Um, you know, one thing that I always thought was neat about Drow and just kind of an underrated aspect of her kit is Glacier. I don't think we talked much about Glacier yet, but high ground for the last several patches has been just impossible to take sometimes, and having Glacier, as long as they don't have, well,
Pudge.
yeah, as long as they don't have Pudge, basically, is what I was gonna say. But as long as they don't have like Pudge or something, if you put a Glacier down, you're hitting, and you have Dragonlance, you're basically sniper at that point. Except you have Vision of the Tower, you don't need to throw any shrapnels or anything, so you can siege from insane distances and really force the other team to react, which is something I wish that this hero would have been good enough to pick in the last couple of patches, and she still might not be, but we'll see.
Cool. I'm excited. Let's go win some Dota games.
All right.
All right. See you in a bit.